Okay, so it is cam time. Let's get this show on the road. All right, so 6 liter camshaft install. Not crazy difficult here. Basically just need to. So when you think of a camshaft, what do you think of? Lube. Yeah, bad joke. All right, anyway, so again, as usual, just like I have to go through on just about everything else here, do not install these things dry. And definitely don't use just a motor oil or something. You really want to get a proper assembly lube. So it just would really stink to spend this much money and time on the job and basically not actually lubricate the cam and damage the bearings as you put them in. So in this case, we do have a 6 liter here. We did do the block. We had bearings done in it. It basically needed all the joys of machine work done. But you know, that's just a part of the go sometimes. Sometimes you just grab them out of the junkyard, throw a bunch of new stuff in them and go. But this one we already got new bearings in it. And we've already had it inspected to make sure everything was aligned correctly. So, on that note, we have our cam. Now, when you order a new cam, it will come with a spec sheet sometimes. Not always, not everybody does it. Summit does some great ones. It just all depends on what you're looking for. There are a lot of different companies out there and do all sorts of different cams and customs, custom cam work and things like that. Now, each application is going to need something different, of course. All right, so we got our cam. It's custom specific for this job, 6 liter, and they basically set up to accept the low boost twin turbos, T3s that we're doing. So, most important, as stated, lubrication for sure. Now, I just happen to have the Comp Cam's engine assembly lube. Essentially, it is really thick and pasty, but that's not a problem at all. And don't be afraid to get it, because you really want it coated well everywhere. So, you do not want anything left out, and you want to make sure that this thing does not have any dry spots. It's the worst thing in the world. Now, some people will just worry about the bearing areas, but in my book, we don't want anything physically rubbing out or rubbing across anything while it's initiating start and not having anything to get this thing going in the right direction. So nothing like tearing up your motor in the beginning. Now, I'll just leave this in for a second as we start the installation here. So let me get you set up. All right, so most importantly, just go nice and slow. There's no rush here. So you want to just slowly go in here. Now, as you go, just give a little wiggle. Sometimes you have to rotate. And just slowly guide it in. Alright. Now, some guys like to leave the pistons out and not do the bottom half, but do the cam first. So that way they can reach inside and actually help guide it through the piston holes. You know, that's one way of doing it. Sometimes you want to lube those bearings basically before you actually put it in or put your pistons in also. So that's another thing. But you know, there's just a bunch of different directions you can do things, or a bunch of different ways. So got to find and learn which way works best for you. So all right, so we'll stop right there. Now, as a double check, you can reach the last bearing from the back side of the motor. So if you want, you can walk around there because since you're dragging it through all the way, the chances are that, you know, most of your assembly lube might be off if you didn't go back there and apply some too. So just reach through the back of the block, and as long as you don't have that cover on the back there, or you're doing this in a vehicle, you can, you know, apply a little extra right then. All right, and you know, you can use your water bolt. Well, excuse me, your you can use these bolts you have here into the back of this guy, or just take a long screwdriver, shove it in there. They do make a tool, but you know, if you don't have to spend the money, then why waste it? Now I don't have the rear plate on right now, which is why I wanted to walk back. So, all right. So essentially, that's your how to install the cam part. Now, if you're doing this means you're most likely also doing lifters. So if you got new lifters, you need to have had them soaking already. It's important that those guys get fully saturated internally with oil, preferably the oil you're going to run in the vehicle, of course. So if you have plans to install new lifters, you need to get those bad boys out. Use an old coffee can or something, and literally just soak them. So let them sit overnight. It'll allow all the oil and fluids to get in there, and you'll be good to go, ready to drop them in. So next round is going to be the covers and timing from here, and of course we'll move to the heads after that. But we have plates for your front and rear, of course. This guy I always replace because we don't want any leaks, do we? So rather simple, nothing terribly hard here. $10mm. Loud noise, sorry. Torque to about that. Is there a proper or a specific torque? Yes. As 18 pounds, I believe, for this one. Typically your stuff like this is about 15 to 18 pounds. So okay, so at this point we need to do our timing, and we'll install our timing chain and sprocket on here, because that goes on behind the oil pump. And we'll get those all lined and dot to dot, and rotate it over a couple times to make sure it's accurate and that it lines back up each time. So that way we know that our engine actually is TDC, top dead center, and we don't have any valves or pistons gliding. So it's always a good thing. But like I said, as far as the lifters go, you want to let those bad boys soak overnight, and that will help you out a lot. So on that note, we will continue from that process. Okay, so I've got everything set up, and basically we're just going to get our retainers here, our clips, take lifter out of the oil that's been soaking for a while, and it snaps into that. Now you can't put it in incorrectly, basically. I mean, you got your wheel this direction, roller, excuse me, and once you set it in place and turn it, it's going to lock. So, and that helps prevent you from doing things incorrectly. As you can see, it has a flat spot here, and Sorry, let me get that light. There we have a flat spot there too. So when you put those two together, it holds it in the right direction. So, all right, and this is the messy part, of course. So we'll get these going on here. And now in this build, I'm not running stock lifters. We're running an LS7 lifter on it. It's really good with the boost applications. Again, each to their own. Everybody's got their own opinions on things again. So we have our retainer bolts, and the way to know which direction is which, it has these little pass-throughs here. And all right, so as I was saying, on these you got a little bit of a lip right there, and that's basically a clearance for that little dimple. All right, so typically they're gonna have that facing upward when you go to slide them in. So your flat edge is basically down here on this edge, so it captures the oil and brings it back through, also allowing some to pass through too. So, but you just grab them out of your oil and slide them into place. Again, you just can't really put it in wrong. You try to turn it and it really won't fit very well. And see how they kind of lock them where they're at. All right. Okay. Pull that bolt out. And we'll just slowly go down the holes a little bit, and you'll see them kind of start to go in. And then just push it all the way down. And they'll essentially lock themselves or get themselves into the position there. And that's that. So you put your bolt in, and 15 foot-pounds, I believe is what that is, if not 18 pounds. And voila, that's one side. Okay, so basically the same thing. We're just going to repeat the same process here. Now you can hold it over the actual can that you got it in, of course, to keep most of the oil from dripping on the floor. If it goes in the engine, that ain't going to hurt anything. And if you think this is just because it's a new build, no, you really want to do this to anything you've had unassembled for a while too, just to be safe. All right. Now these bolts do have a little head on them. Let's see if I can, sorry, we'll see if I can get that. There you go. That little head. And that is essentially going to pass through that larger hole, so that way it doesn't snap it when it locks down. So it will only hold it in place like that, so it won't actually crush the plastic, so to speak. All right, last forward when we move back to timing. Now we could have done the timing, of course, ahead of this, but we are ready here, so we figure we'd go ahead and